Hey, what's up everyone? This is Snackbox. Hope you all are having a great day. Guys, in this video I want to show you the team that I use in Chimera this week. And for the first time, I was able to collect all 25 mythical mats plus the 4-star Basalt. This is the first time I was able to do it, and I'm so happy about this. It took me really a couple of tries to figure out how this works. In theory, when I played it out, in my head, I didn't think that it would be as hard as it actually was. But once I got it figured out, it was pretty chill to run. There's just not a lot of room for mistakes. But I'm gonna run you through everything you need to know if you have these champions. I will show you how this team can get all the trials that you need. All right, so we have a new rotation. We have Spirit and Void Affinity. The Void Affinity on the Affinity change makes it so much easier to complete the trials because you won't miss them just because you get weak hit or something, or you are weak hitting. That's pretty much a good thing and makes it easier. And yeah, so on the ramp form, there are 7 mythical mats, and we have to damage the Chimera within 3 of its turns while it is under decreased defense. And your champions are under Perfect Whale. And we are bringing Perfect Whale with like 3 different champions. Aphidus is doing it with his A1, Firrol on his A3, and Galathir on the revive. So absolutely no problem. We also have Aphidus that is placing decreased defense with his A1 as well. And then we have also Lydia. Lydia is also making sure with the True Fear procs that Aphidus doesn't kill himself all the time. That really helped. But once we get this trial out of the way, and we really have to get it out of the way pretty quickly so we can complete the second one, you have to complete the first 2 in the first cycle of the ramp form. Then when you face him the second time, you can complete the last one. The second one is really easy, placing 6 unique debuffs and 6 unique buffs. We have that with this team, and it shouldn't be a problem. You should definitely always bring at least 6 debuffs and 6 buffs. And then blocking 7 stuns on the second cycle. This is where it gets a little bit tricky, and I'm gonna show you why. So before we go into the ramp form the second time, I want to make sure that all my champions survive. And the reason for that is that we have to block 7 stuns, right? And the ramp form is only using the stun skill twice. That means we can miss 1 stun, and that's about it. The initial target that is getting attacked will not get stunned, but the other 4 out of your team. So you can miss 1 stun. And I want to make sure that I go into the ramp form with all my champions up. And that's why I'm placing the shield buff with Sniktraak. So Firrol, which is my dual target, will survive the attacks from the ramp form. So as you can see, the shield doesn't count towards the damage threshold that the ram is doing, so he repeats the attack. So from here we just have to make sure that the fear doesn't proc from Lydia. That is one thing. I want to avoid the fear debuff on the ram form because it can cause the ram form to miss a turn and not use a skill, and I definitely don't want to do that, right? I want the ram form to use the skills, because if the ram form misses out on one of the skills, it's not gonna cycle the skills back and maybe not use the stun skill the second time, and that really can mess up this trial. Also, another cool thing with Aphidus is that you can swap forms and then use the provoke skill, for example, and that way keep him alive and not kill himself with doing damage. But if you have the shield up from Sniktraak, you can definitely use the A1. There's also no decreased defense, a weaken on the ramp form, and he will not kill himself. So here I'm using the A3 with Lydia, very important. I don't want to use fear. I don't want to... Actually, I could have used the fear here because I didn't place a debuff yet. And the first debuff you try to place is getting reflected. So I could have used the A1 here and saved my A3 for later on. But it was fine. It still worked out. Firrol used the A1. You can use whatever with Sniktraak. It doesn't really matter that much. All that matters is that you have the block debuffs up. I kind of lost the block debuffs with Aphidus because I swapped forms, so it didn't really make sense to swap forms. But at the same time, he would have just killed himself in the other form, right? So that's just something that I didn't want to risk. I didn't want to revive him, to waste my revive on that. That's why I swapped forms. It doesn't really matter that much because we still got 3 out of 7 stuns blocked. And that means we need another 4, which we can do if our whole team is alive for the second time. Now, the next time that the ram form is going to take a turn, it's going to use the A1. And if the stun procs, the ram form is going to take another turn, which I actually want. I want the ram form to take an extra turn. My block debuff from Galathir is already ready, right, to go for the second time the ram form uses the A2. So now I actually let the ram form place the stun with the A1, take an extra turn, and that way I don't take too many turns with Lydia where I have to put up the true fear or the fear debuff. Obviously the fear here can proc and the ram form will not use the A1, but it's just something that helps completing this trial. So as you can see here, my block debuffs skill from Galathir is ready, but I'm not going to use it because it gives me a chance, as you can see here, to let the ram form take an extra turn, and now the A2 is ready again. So perfect, right? I can just use the A3 here with Lydia and put up the block debuffs. I have the provoke skill, which doesn't do any damage with Aphidus, so he doesn't kill himself. And there we go. We got the block debuffs up now, and now, the ram form just needs to go. And yeah, that was the end of the story, and we got the trial done in the end. So keep in mind, all you really have to do is complete the first 2 trials in the first cycle, and then try to keep your dual target alive when you go into the second cycle, so you have all your champions up, so you can block more stuns. And yeah, that was pretty much it. Now these are the first 7 mythical mats here from the ramp form. Then on the line form we have 9 in total, and for these trials we need to first damage the Chimera while it is under leech. After that we have to place 10 debuffs on the Chimera within 2 of its turns, very important, and one of the debuffs must be decrease resistance. And we can do that with Galathir, and you actually have to time it right. The same way you have to time the cleanse and the reflect damage of Sniktraak. You really have to be smart with the timing so you get the most out of your reflect damage effects, and it is very important, and I'm going to show you how. Alright, so going into the line form, very important actually, you want to place the ally protection on your champions before you go into the line form, so that way you already place the leech as soon as the line attacks you, and that way you can already start damaging the line form for the trial and complete it way faster. This is very important because that gives you more time to reflect the damage already in the first cycle. I already started reflecting damage in the first cycle, which helped me to complete this trial, right? So that's very important and very helpful, to complete those first 2 trials as fast as you can. So from here, it's just damaging the line form, but also at the same time, trying to survive the line form because it really hurts sometimes. My Lydia is actually my target for the line form, but it would actually be better if it was Sniktraak, because then I would also reflect more in general. So that is one thing that you got to keep in mind, or that I will change also for my second run. I will make Sniktraak my line target, and that way this reflect trial should be much easier. Another thing you should keep in mind is that you need the HP burn from Aphidus to place 10 debuffs. So place it wisely, time it at the same time you are placing the decreased resistance with Galathir. I need all these debuffs that these champions can do in order to complete this trial. Now you could theoretically use a toxic set on Lydia or somebody else, but I think that would just fill up the debuff bar for no reason and is not necessary to do. I would rather put them in a 9-piece Firrol set, for example, and push your damage, right? And that way complete the trials a little bit faster. And yeah, as you can see, we have 10 debuffs placed, and now we need to reflect the damage. And one thing that is also really important, one detail, if you have shield buffs on your champions, you will not reflect any damage. So try to avoid to place the shield when you're trying to reflect damage with the, reflect damage buff. And that is also very important. And then at the same time, you want to make sure that you have the reflect damage on when you cleanse the Hunter's Gaze debuff, because then the line form will attack you. So very important to you time this right, and I would show you that in the second cycle. But it's also very important that you get the first 2 trials out of the way very quickly, as fast as you can, and already start reflecting as much as you can. As you can see, I'm already going in again with reflect damage on my champions, so I'm not wasting any time. That way I can place it more often and reflect more damage, also very important. So going into the second cycle of the line form, I already reflected almost 800,000 damage, and I need to do another 700,000. Now, one thing that is, decreasing the amount of damage you are reflecting is the strengthen from Lydia, for example, and the decrease attack, which we cannot avoid to place because Sniktraak is doing it on the A1. So I at least want to make sure that I don't buff the strengthen from Lydia when I don't want it. So right before you cleanse off that Hunter's Gaze and you have the reflect damage on your champions, try not to have the strengthen on at the same time, and that way you will reflect much more. And the best moment to have the reflect damage on actually is when the line form uses the A3 and cleanses off the decreased attack and then deals the full amount of damage, and that way you can get a good chunk done from the trial, and that really helped. And yeah, in the end it worked perfectly fine. I just had, like I said, I just had to make sure, as you can see right here, to time the reflect damage and then to cleanse, get damage reflected. The line form is removing the decrease attack with the A3 and then reflecting even more. As you can see here, a lot of damage got reflected, and that's when we got that trial done. And yeah, that was pretty much it. Now on the Viper form, that's where the 4-star Basalt is at, and also 9 Mythical mats. Now for the 4-star Basalt, we need to damage the Chimera while it is under block active skills. I want to do this anyway. And then for the second one, we need to damage the Chimera within 2 of its turns while it is under block buffs and HP burn. But it's not a lot of damage, so that's pretty easy to do. If you time it right, you definitely have to save Aphidus HP burn debuff for this trial. Don't use it just whenever. Use it really for this trial. Save it for this trial, and then here we need to damage the Chimera while it is under 10 debuffs, and it must not be under block active skills debuffs. And this is pretty sketchy because we only have 10 debuffs in total, and yeah, this is not that easy to do. I actually almost did it in the first cycle, but I had to do this hard one and this hard one here in the second cycle. So both of them in the second cycle. And yeah, you want to at least complete the easy and the normal one of both trials. But as I said, I think you can complete at least one of them in the first cycle if you do it right. And the thing is, if the Viper form doesn't have block active skills, it's very tricky. You definitely want to have the decreased accuracy and the resistance up on your champions, and make sure you won't, you don't get all the debuffs transferred, and you don't get, all the poisons and poison sensitivity on your champions. So that's really the trick here, and something you really have to keep in mind. Now for trials number 3, we need to place decreased attack, which we have from Sniktraak, and then we need increased speed from Lydia. So once again, you have to time those skills right. The A1 from Sniktraak is not guaranteed unless, the Viper form or the enemy has a leech debuff. And that means, we have to wait until we place a decrease attack and then place the increased speed so we can guarantee to complete that trial. After that, this is also a little bit tricky because now you have to time it again. Aphidus is the only champion that is placing an increased attack, and Galathir is the only champion that is placing block debuffs. You really want to make sure to time both of the skills right and then damage the Chimera with a single skill. You can definitely do this easily with Aphidus. And then the hard one, resist 20 debuffs while the Chimera is under a decreased accuracy debuff and your champions are under increased resistance. Firrol does both of these things, and you can pretty much get it done with one skill of the Viper form. If the Viper form tries to place the poisons and poison sensitivity, these are 4 debuffs per champion. That means 20 in total, and you can instantly complete this one, but you can also start resisting before that. But this poison skill is definitely the one that, places the most debuffs. So let me show you that. So going into the Viper form, I definitely want to avoid having any buffs on my champions whatsoever. I'm going to cleanse those poisons off instantly, place the block active skills. Try to place a decrease attack, didn't work, only a 50% chance. Get the decreased speed going, and yeah, we definitely need the decrease attack so we can continue completing trials. You want to make that happen as fast as possible. That's like always the thing. You want to get those trials out of the way as quick as possible. Here we have the decrease attack, and now we can, start completing this trial, which will reward us mythical mats in the end. So very important. But we do have the block active skills. Now we're gonna use the A2. We have the block debuffs up. We have the increase attack up, and we need both to complete the next trial. And this was just perfectly timed. And yeah, we got both trials out of the way in the first cycle. We just need to take a turn now with Aphidus, use, 1A1 even, and that was pretty much it. Here you can see I actually tried to collect a 4-star Basalt. I tried to complete one of the trials in the first cycle so I can focus on the other one in the second cycle. But in the end, it didn't really matter because I completed both of them in the second cycle. But yeah, here the Viper form would now try to transfer all these debuffs to my champions. And, it's kind of like the last turn the Viper form is going to take. And, it's only going to use one more skill. So if I would now not place the block debuffs on my champions, and the Viper form would try to transfer all these debuffs, but it would not be enough to complete the trial. I also would have to place increased resistance with Firrol, but I thought maybe I should just put up block debuffs, because if you have block debuffs, the debuffs won't go anywhere, right? The debuffs will stay on the Viper form. So I technically just need to block it. So I gambled and I tried to focus on the 4-star Basalt trial here. And I placed the block debuffs. After placing block debuffs, now I tried to get back to 10 debuffs in total, because that's what we need without block active skills. And then damage the Chimera for 2 million damage. That's exactly what we need. But for some reason, I did a little mistake. Now, as you can see here, we need 10 debuffs, no block active skills, and 2 million damage, right? And I have 9 debuffs here. So all I had to do basically was to place decreased resistance with Galathir. But the thing is, I just probably got distracted by something or was not that concentrated anymore. So this was also like my 5th or 6th run that I did, and mistakes just happen. Also very unfortunate that Aphidus took a turn before Galathir, but it is what it is. And yeah, so I basically placed the decreased resistance 1 turn too late. That's what happened, and because of that I couldn't do the trial in the first cycle, but it's definitely possible. So if you time it right, it is definitely possible. If you are quick enough, you can definitely do it in the first cycle. So the second time we went into the Viper form, I approached it a little bit different. Obviously, I went in with no buffs again. That's always the same thing. You don't want to have any buffs before going into the Viper form. Basically, what I did different now is not place a block active skills. So that was really important because it would just, delay my ability to complete this trial. We cannot have block active skills on the Viper form, so I'm not doing it at all. So all I'm doing basically is A1s until the Viper form uses the A2, because then it tries to transfer the debuffs, and I want to save all my debuffs after it uses this skill, basically. That was the plan, and it worked out perfectly fine. So here you go. I also had block debuffs up so it wouldn't work, whatsoever. But just for safety reasons, I saved all my debuffs. And then I started debuffing, debuffing and buffing. And, got all my debuffs together. And then once I got my 10 debuffs, all I had to do is basically deal damage with Aphidus. His A2 is hitting the hardest because he's buffing himself with increased attack before that. And yeah, that was pretty much the 4-star Basalt. And now the Viper form is also about to use A3, which is the poison sensitivity skill, which I talked about earlier. We have the increased resistance. We have the decreased accuracy up. And yeah, that was pretty much end of the story. Now the Viper form just had to take a turn, use that skill, and that was pretty much it. So not that bad, to be honest. Once you figure out how to, complete these trials, when to use what skill, what buffs, and what debuffs, it becomes pretty easy. But the way to, understand all this definitely took me a couple of hours. I did like 10 tries in total. But yeah, in the end, it worked out perfectly fine. 14 trials. I think you can do much more than this, actually, if you wanted to. You can complete like 3 or 4 more trials on a RAM form, which would give you some, more relic material. But to be honest, I just tried to focus on the ones, that would reward me mythical mats and the 4-star Basalt. And in the end, I got it done. First time ever, actually. Also almost 1 key damage. Not that bad. 1.9 billion clash points, and here we go. These were the rewards. So here's my Aphidus in a 6-piece Merciless set, 2-piece Zeal set, 51k HP, 7.8k attack, 247 speed, crit capped, 349 crit damage, and 418 accuracy. I have the Erratic Coronet on him with piercing, defense, and the boss Slayer. Definitely best in slot. Completely booked. Nature's Wrath, a 5-star blessing. I used his attack aura actually. 35% more attack. That was a lot. And yeah, these are the masteries: Helm Smasher and Master Hexer. Then here we have Galathir in a Relentless set. 109k HP, 4.1k defense, 358 speed, 342 resistance, but it doesn't really matter that much. The Percher Relic was absolutely busted. He took so many turns and got me so much turn meter. He's very good with this relic, and 20% more heal on his A2 is also a lot. Then he's completely booked. Temporal Chains doesn't really do anything for Chimera. And these are the masteries for Galathir. Then my Lydia was in a 9-piece Firrol set. 64k HP, highest defense with 4.6k, almost 4.7. So that way the lion form would target her. 331 speed, crit capped actually, 162 crit damage. You definitely want to make sure she's not the lowest crit damage. And 639 accuracy. Absolute overkill, 520 is perfectly fine. And yeah, Gaze of the Nation. I just use this, for additional accuracy, but it's not necessary. I actually used it before I got the 6-star soul and haven't, removed it yet. 6-star Nature's Bounty Blessing definitely helps a lot, but even if you have a 1 or a 3-star blessing, I would still use it because if it procs, it works wonders. And then here are the masteries: War Master, Lasting Gifts, and Master Hexer. Then we had Firrol in a 9-piece protection set, 69k HP, 3.6k defense, 330 speed, and 116 crit damage is the lowest I have on this team. So he's the dual target, 373 accuracy. And the reason why he has so low accuracy is because he's ignoring resistance with every skill. So here 20% resistance, 20% resistance here as well. So you can build him with a lot less accuracy. And also he provides a lot of resistance, accuracy, and damage from his passive. So yeah, he's pretty much like a mythical with his resistance ignoring. And then these are the masteries: Master Hexer, Lasting Gifts, and War Master. Last but not least, here is Sniktraak in a 9-piece Firrol set, and I'm actually happy that I could use him finally. I pulled him recently, which I'm really happy about, and now he helped me to get 25 mets and a 4-star Basalt the first time. So yeah, pretty happy. 87k HP, 4.3k defense. As I said, I would probably make him the line target now and push his defense a little bit and reduce Lydia's defense, so that way I can reflect more because he's the initial target of the line form. Then 314 speed. He has just slightly more crit damage, just above Firrol, and that way he's not the dual target. And 528 accuracy, which is exactly where we want to be for Ultra Nightmare. Then I have the Purge Shadow Relic on him as well, so that way I can cycle his reflect damage back more often, and it just gives me additional chances to get that trial done. He's completely booked, no blessing. I have no soul for him yet, and these are the masteries. I went for Lasting Gifts, Master Hexer, and Eagle Eye for additional accuracy. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it about this team. I actually saw a few other teams that were able to collect all 25 mets, and let me show you some options. But yeah, if you want to build this team, go ahead. You can also add me on Discord and ask me if you need any help with whatsoever. Feel free to ask me and I will try to help you. So here's one option that can get 4-star Basalt and 25 mets with Gizmek, Faina, Xenogray, which is not available anymore. So if you missed out on Xenogray, you will not be able to achieve this champion anymore. But if you did and you have Faina and all the other components, this is one way to get all mats and the 4-star Basalt. Then I saw this one right here, which looked really fun to run. Also for the 25 mats and 4-star Basalt with Geomancer. Pretty interesting comp, and I think that was really a fun time to run this. But as you can see, there are multiple ways, and I really love to see that there are multiple ways. Obviously, most of the times there are mythicals involved, but that's just how it is. That's the name of the game. And then last but not least, here probably one of the best keys I saw for this week: 3-star, 4-star Basalt, and 25 mats. So yeah, guys, if you want to see more, teams like this, just join the RSL leaderboards. I will put the Discord in the description below. All the people are submitting their personal best scores over there. So yeah, it's pretty much available to everybody. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for this video. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to add me on Discord or write in the comment section below. I will answer them as soon as possible. And yeah, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed, please hit the like button. It really goes a long way. Also, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more raid content and maybe more content about Chimera. The YouTube algorithm is going to suggest you a video that you might like right here, and see you in the next one.